The poise. We don't care if people make mistakes as long as they acknowledge and recover. When they don't, they make us uncomfortable. That's a lack of poise. I always define poise for public speaking classes as the ability to appear comfortable under stress in public. That word appear matters. Looks like you're comfortable, even if you're a mess inside. Okay? And so if they make a mistake, if you're sitting there with a rather rigid face, they may compound the mistake. But if you relax a little yourselves as judges and smile or just look like you're still interested, they'll get it back together. And then you need to give them points, I think, in your mind for recovery. So they fell. So what? We all do. Did they get up? And did they go on? Okay? Audiovisual, this is a rough one because there's so much you're going to see. You know, as I said, from the little snapshots all the way up to, you know, the rocking chair that they made for the grandmother. That's just going to be a hard one to judge, I think. So because it's hard and because there's no fast, clear, objective way of assessing it, it seems to me that you should be very generous with your points on this, unless it's a very shabby product and you can see they put nothing into it. It's very clear to you. There's just no doubt in your mind at all about it. Okay? Then at the very end, after they're through with the speech, you have about a 5 minutes question and answer session. And this is the time when you are asking them about things you really would like to know. This isn't a time to test their knowledge of the field. This is, you know, when did you become first interested in this? Have you ever built anything before you built this canoe? If that isn't covered in the speech, many times it will be. But there should be things that should readily come to mind that you think about, that you really actually want to know. That's the kind of question you should ask. And they love it. That's their favorite part of the whole experience usually. I've had kids come out year after year when I've been able to stay and wait to see them come out after their presentations. And I tell this every year, and it's true. They do. They come out and they go, "Oh, it was awesome. The judges love me." Only when you're 17. Yes, well, and they do. And I tell them the judges are so nice. They are so friendly. They're glad to be here, and they're going to be really caring about what you're saying. And it's going to be the friendliest audience you can imagine. And that's really always been true. I don't remember having a student ever complain to me about a judging behavior of any kind. I mean, they don't all love their grades, but, you know, yes.
Do the students have friends and family present for this as well?
Not usually.
Speaking just to this panel of judges? Just to the,
yep.
Just to the panel.
Yeah. Otherwise, the cheering section can work for or against them. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think it's time for us to watch one. What do you say? Okay. So if you've got your scoring sheet ready to go, I'm going to add, yes.
Sorry, one more question. You want to have a 6 through 0 on the scoring, on the rubric.
Yes.
How important is it that they get a 6 rather than a 2? So we should be scoring from 0 to 10.
Or we're only scoring from 6 to 10.
Or, no,
I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm sorry. Would you ask me that a different way, or?
on the score sheet,
Yes.
it starts at 0. It starts at 1 and goes to 10. But on the rubric, there's 10,
The criteria for 0 to
8,
6
7,
or the
6. 6 and below is a fail. If somebody gets 6s and 5s, we need to give them 6s and 5s if we think they've only just failed, or does it matter if they get all 0?
Are you using the
Do we
scoring
use 1
values
through
of 1
5?
through 5?
Help me with this.
Okay.
I'm really sorry. I'm really not understanding the question.
So 0 to 6 is all lumped together.
Yeah, it is.
So
They give.
How do they distinguish between a 1 and a 5, for example?
Are you asking the difference between the low score and the high score?
Between a 1 and a 6.
That's what I mean. The low score of 0 and the high score of 6?
I think
It would be like a.
I think she's wondering.
It's all
Doesn't
fa-
matter.
It does matter because it's all points, right? The points add in. The points do matter. Is that your real question?
Yes.
Okay. The points do matter. So a 3 is better than a 2. A 2 is better than a 1. A 1 is better than a 0. Yes.
But you haven't really given us any guidelines
No, we haven't.
as to the difference between.
No, you're right. We haven't. Yep.
So is a 6 still a fail?
If you are going to be giving very few 6s to begin with. You're rarely going to be giving 5s, 4s, 3s, and 2s. If you're down there, you're too harsh for this experience.
That sort of begs the question of help us normalize. What would you expect the distribution of scores to be? I mean, is this predominantly a 9-10 activity?
No.
Are you looking for means that are going to be
No.
at 75? Or are you looking at a mean that's 93?
Probably in the 80s.
If you were a teacher and you had to go with a 0 to 60, which we have 0 to 65 or 64 is failure, you have to say to yourself, is this essay has only 2 sentences, I'm certainly not going to give it even a 50. Okay, it's going to get a 5 or a 10. But here's one that's written 3 paragraphs, it's all wrong. There are a few good points in it, that's going to get higher. I mean, that's just a matter of proportion that you do your best to come up with. There is no objective point equivalency that you're looking for that we have for you. And I haven't actually seen one. And in all the years I've been coaching, we don't get to that fine point.
So you don't really need to worry about that, is what you're telling me.
I don't know that that's what I'm telling you. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. Let me try it one more time before we watch this, okay? I'm telling you that if you give somebody a 2, you are making a dent in their score that's sizable, as opposed to a 6. If you believe they should get a 2, give them the 2, yes.
You have to really deserve that.
Yeah. You have to think it's really inferior. One of the worst things you've seen or can imagine seeing, to give it a 1 or a 2.
I wasn't planning on giving you.
I'm trying to help. You're asking me to give you an equivalency I am not able to do for you. It's exactly as you would like it. Yeah.
I've judged for a lot of years and a lot of nights for a lot of projects. I've probably judged, I don't know, these 30 kids over the course of the year. Most kids, I mean, a poor score is a 7 or a 6. Yeah. They're really, most of these kids at this point, they've been working with their English teacher, their mentor, so there's something behind it. So that it'd be really hard to walk in at this point in the year and be at a 0, 1, 2, or 3. I mean, it would be, you'd have to work to be there.
Oh, thank you.
I've never had anyone
I could give maybe a concrete example.
even kids who
Okay.
struggle.
We have somebody here who would like to give an example.
I was gonna say, even though if they struggle, it's usually in only 1 or 2 portions.
If you look at under the content, introduction, the last bullet in the 6 to 0 is unclear thesis omits product significance or purpose. To me, if a kid came in and said, I really don't know how this is significant to me at all, that might be a 5 or a 6. If a kid says, it wasn't significant, it didn't mean a damn thing to me, that's a 2. That's how I would look at something like that.
I think you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable once you've watched a couple and we go over it, okay? I really do.
Try to score?
Pardon me?
Should we score?
Yes, so that's what I was going to say. If you would please try to score as we go, that would be good. I will tell you that people ask every year, so you might as well know this ahead of time. They always say to me, well, can you give us a presentation that's a low score so we can see what a low score looks like? No. And the reason I have said no to it, and always will, I will not put the picture of a student up on the screen for the community to see and have them be failing. I will never do that. Even for my own students, I don't read them failing papers. I don't pass out failing models. I pass out success. And that's what we're doing, and that's the thing here. If you want to know what the grades tend to be, I would say that a great many of them fall in the 80s some in the 90s, and then we sprinkle down 70s and 60s and so on. But most of the kids do decently. That doesn't mean you're expected to give all 90s. You aren't. Okay? But I would think that there'd probably be very few you'll see that will be out and out failures. There may be some, but they will be on the minority.
And what are the consequences again when they fail?
Well, it's 30% of their English final. So that grade gets figured in with whatever the English teacher gives as a final.
Graduation in summer school, right? Nothing like that.
Well, if they fail the whole thing, they have to redo the speech, don't they?
Right. If
If they fail the speech, they'll be redoing
they've
it.
never had more than 5 or 6 kids have to redo the speech because they failed the speech.
Alright, my name is Allie Yank, and I'd like to thank all you guys for volunteering today and coming out to see us perform. Is the timer? Yep, I'm good. Okay, it has been said many times that a picture can say 1,000 words. In my opinion, the picture behind me describes one very specific word. I don't know if you can see the picture, but it's a picture of my leg with bruises on it, and the word that picture describes is acrophobia. If you don't know what acrophobia is the extreme and irrational fear of heights. I suffer from this, and my senior project was to overcome this fear and to move on with my life and leave that in the past. To explain this picture, this is a picture taken after my flight to Dominican Republic over February break with my girlfriends and all of our moms. I have a tendency when I fly in airplanes to clench my legs so tight it physically gives me bruises. And that was one of the surest signs. My friends were making fun of me. Al, you gotta get over this, gotta do it. And so I decided that somehow, some way, with my senior project, I would overcome my fear of heights. And I decided, why not just go out with a bang, go all out, so you have no regrets and you don't have any lingering fears, and jump out of a plane. I thought it was the best way to do it, not holding back or anything, and it would overcome my fear of heights and my fear of airplanes. In order to face my fear of heights, I would need to find, first, a trusted mentor to help me jump out of this plane. Secondly, confront this fear in baby steps and take on a few small tasks in order to take on the bigger picture. And lastly, to jump out of the plane and leave my fear in the past, and hopefully, through this task, overcome my fear. The first thing I did, like any American teenager, was to jump on Google and look up any Rochester skydivers in the area. I came across Rochester Skydivers in Avon. It is run by DC or Dick Cordero. I never call him Cordero, it's just DC. I called him in around November to discuss the idea of me doing a senior project with him and his business. He said sure, and actually people at Western Trader have done their senior project there before, so he was willing to just do the whole run through again. It was decided in the phone call that he would be the person to jump out of the plane with me and to just be my mentor and teach me about planes more, so I understood where the fear is coming from, and to learn in depth all the details of skydiving. I visited Rochester Skydivers in early December just to meet everybody and to see them closing up and to see a few aspects of the skydiving business and how it's done. And while I was there, I met Jeff Smith, who in the long run became kind of my 50% mentor. He overcame DC when he wasn't there as much, when he couldn't be present at Rochester Skydivers, and he helped me so much through the whole process of skydiving. He was actually the person who suggested that I not just go right into skydiving, I take a few baby steps before I take on that huge fear. So both of them have done combined over 10,000 jumps. They're both certified in tandem jumping, and they have deep background in the skydiving business. So I trusted that they would be able to help me and guide me through this time, and they did. They were great, and they became so close to me, and I'm glad I met them. So the second thing I had to do was finally figure out what is a baby step I can take to overcome this fear. And actually it was my teammates and our mothers who helped us think of something to do. One of the mothers suggested that we do a ropes course at Camp Arrowhead so I can get up at a certain height, we can do team bonding, and I can learn to trust other people holding me up by just a single rope in 30 feet in the air, which is nothing compared to the 10,000 feet I would soon be facing. But it really helped with my teammates there behind me, holding me up, trying to struggle up the course. It was great, and it was a perfect first step to thinking about even jumping out of a plane and being that high and trusting somebody on my back to pull a parachute. It was just a great first step, and I'm glad I did it with my teammates. The second big step I took was in the early spring when I did my 3 training days at Rochester Skydivers before my jump. I got to watch customers and employees there jump out of the plane, and I saw that they all landed, they were all alive, which really helped my self-confidence, and I knew that I could trust them. And I also got to do a ride-along. And in a few seconds, you'll see what a ride-along is. My grandpa did it with me. It's a different perspective from a jump. Usually when you see a jump, it's 10,000 feet up, it's little dots floating in the sky, but I got to see people jump out of the plane. It was a crazy experience because they just fly, and it almost made me more scared, but I was definitely more comfortable in the airplane after that point. I had confidence that I could go up in the first place and be able to meander to the idea of jumping out. Those are the 3 biggest things that helped me approach my fear, and finally we come to the day of the jump. My whole family was there, including my dad's side of the family, my mom's side of the family. It was a great experience. It was a beautiful day, and actually the date me and Dick decided to do my real jump on had to get moved back a weekend because it was really stormy and not good weather. So we ended up having a clear day. Up in the plane I could see Lake Ontario, Toronto skyline, Buffalo skyline, Rochester skyline. It was beautiful. So we get in the plane, and first of all, it doesn't start. The plane is 6 years old, and it won't start. Of course, when I go up, there's customers all day, but when I go, it doesn't start. So I finally got it going, and I went up with Jeff Smith, not DC, and we went up in the plane, and we finally jumped out, and it was so hard for me. Well, actually, no, it wasn't hard for me. When I was in the car driving there, it was so hard, but when I got there around all of my mentors and my skydiving friends, it was easy and I was relaxed. And I will show you a bit of my jump right now so you can experience that with me. Okay, minimize that. All right, there's a lot of intense music that goes along with it. Oh, music isn't playing. That's good. It was a little weird. All right, that is my view from 10,000 feet up. That's how high we jump from. That's me in that cute little purple onesie, and Jeff in the checkered one. And if you can see right here, this is my grandpa. He did the ride along with us, which was a really special experience. I was so happy to have him up there with us. He's an ex-Air Force mechanic. He never flew planes, but he loved it, and I was so happy to have him up there with us.
So you're looking up as opposed to looking at the
You're
ground?
supposed, yeah, when you jump, here, I'll explain some things. You're supposed to jump. See, he hit my hands down. You're supposed to first go like this. I'll demonstrate. And arch your back as far as you can and take both of your legs and stick them between Jeff's legs, as you can see right there. The cord that just went up is our first balloon to let planes around us know not to hit us, like we're in the sky. So right here, we're free falling. We free fell for 30 seconds, and we were going 120 miles an hour. And when we fell, the funny thing is you'd think you'd have a huge stomach drop, you'd be like, oh, your brain would spin, but the plane was going 120 miles an hour, and when you jump, you're going 120 miles an hour, so your body never notices a difference. It's a very easy transition. One maneuver that we did, I don't know if you caught it, we did a front flip out of the plane. It was incredible, and right here is when we released the parachute. We free fell for 30 seconds, and when you reach an altitude of 4,000, you have to pull your parachute. And the lady who was recording, it was so cool, she had a helmet on, she had a camera taking pictures here, and a video camera recording on top. And she's actually Jeff's fiance, and they're getting married and skydiving into their wedding, of course. And here's my certificate, proof that I skydive with my mentor Jeff Smith signature right here, my first skydive on April. And looking back and reflecting on this experience, I don't even know what I was thinking, to be honest. The feeling of jumping out of that plane and taking that step and just having that adrenaline rush and it all coming up on you it makes it seem crazy. Well, not crazy, planes are still kind of scary, but at least now I know if there's ever a plane that crashes, I can parachute out of it. But I honestly fell in love. At the end, the guy asked me, how was it? And I was like, I fell in love today, and I'm going again this summer to skydive. It was the best thing that ever happened. By doing my senior project, I gained self-confidence in my goal-reaching abilities. I know if I could overcome the greatest fear in my life, I can do fine in college, I can make friends. Like, one huge thing conquered, taken care of already through my senior project. I showed others around me that fears can be conquered. Like, anything can be conquered. Addictions, fears, you can conquer them with the right steps beforehand, the right people around you to help, and the right mindset of, I just want to do it. I have to do it. I can't live my life like this anymore. I have no more self-doubt up in the air. I don't clench anymore. There's no more of this in the airplane. There was none of that. And that's the safest thing, because I want to travel in my life. I want to see other places, and I really just can't be held back on the ground. I want to get AFF certified in the future. It's $2,000, and I was thinking about doing that for my senior project, but it was just too expensive. But I know through the senior project I will conquer my fear, and I have a new passion that I will enjoy for the rest of my life.